There's kind of two ways I see this happening. One is, I think, bad. AI is impacting software dev outsourcing where there's this general idea that I can get cheaper labor, but they'll do better because now they have AI. There's also a lot of sentiment out there that I subscribe to as well, is that AI is massively powerful for good software engineers, good architects that know how to use it in the right ways to get good outcomes. And it's a net negative if you put it in the hands of someone who doesn't have those skills and that insight, and they're just, prolifically creating crappy code. So we used to have 10,000 lines a week of bad code. Now we've got 100,000 lines a week of bad code. So that's the bad side. And I think that the hype machine is making it really hard for non-technical stakeholders to kind of see the difference. They say, hey, this India team is producing code like crazy, or hey, yeah, I know that they might not be as skilled as our team, but they have AI. And I think also that you've getting some offshore freelancers and teams that are selling themselves as more competent than they are, and maybe even raising their rates and trying to use AI as the backing. And I've even seen cases where we've had a team of 30 South American nearshore developers, a third of whom were all holding down 3 full-time jobs and trying to use AI as the mitigating circumstance to still look productive enough. I work a third of a time for you. I take a full-time paycheck, and I use AI to fluff out the middle. So I think AI and software development outsourcing is a little scary in that sense. But let's talk about what it does for the experts and the good outsourcing shops. Because I can say this, it allows Facet, for example, with good AI tools, good processes, good checks and balances, and competent developers and architects. AI is making them 30 to 40% more productive, and I can deliver more on the same budget with a smaller team. That's not 100% across the board. I don't think AI is doing anyone's jobs and no one's getting fired by AI. But if you put a lightsaber in the hands of a Jedi, it's a fantastic weapon. If you put a lightsaber in the hands of, a guy who has no military training, and he looks down the barrel and turns it on, it's a bad thing, right? So I think this is how I look at AI, put it in our hands at Facet, and we are massively productive. And we're still making sure that every line of code is our name and stamp of approval on it. So I think for us, it levels the playing field in that we can compete with larger teams with fewer people. I think it can change the value prop a little bit for outsourced dev. Your outsourced partner needs to offer strategic thinking and architecture and questioning the system and understanding the business, not just typing code. If you're thinking, hey, I can outsource development and get it really cheap for $15 an hour in some faraway country because AI can type the code for me now, I got news for you. Typing was never the hard part of software engineering. You should really be thinking now, if I'm outsourcing development, I'm outsourcing it to someone who can add strategic thinking, architecture, and capabilities and engineering prowess, not just code typing ability. I think with AI, kind of a sidebar, but I think we can reduce some of that outsourcing and offshoring communication friction. We've got real-time language transcriptions. There's a tool called Crisp that will let your data center people in India speak on the phone through the Crisp AI microphone that removes their accent. That's crazy, right? So, I think that kind of AI stuff, whether we're talking in Slack or in voice, or I don't understand their language, or I'm working with a guy in Mexico and I sort of speak Spanish, but not really. I can take some of what he said and throw it in, have AI giving me real-time translations. There's a lot of that. AI-assisted code review is also an emerging, very powerful tool that can mean I can outsource and offshore to potentially cheaper labor, get slightly lower baseline quality, but raise it to a higher baseline quality expectation with good, well-trained AI code review assistance. That thing I said earlier, where now I've gotten 100,000 times as much bad code coming my way. Well, instead of trying to hire a bunch of humans to review and gatekeep, we can use AI for some of that. Back to my small team thing, I also think there's maybe an emerging outsourcing model where it's like one senior developer and his army of 10 AI bots could actually replace an entire traditional pyramid structure. There are people talking about a future where you don't just hire me, you hire me and my 1,000 AIs. And I've trained those 1,000 AIs to work my way. Some of them are planners, some of them are reviewers, some of them are architects, some of them are coders, some of them are testers, some of them are QAs, some of them write marketing copy. I'm a whole team with me and my horde of AI agents that are all orchestrated with AI and the skill that I've developed over the years to understand how to deploy me and these tools to a problem. So outsourced development could get weird in that way, right? Like now we're just hiring a guy because he owns a bunch of bots and he brings the bots with him. A big part of outsourcing when with AI in the picture, I think, is just that validating and refining. I think we're gonna focus some of our shifts. The more AI is doing good at system design and architecture, and we're outsourcing someone doing that. Detailed domain knowledge might be getting more and more outside because we have AI doing more and more with these outsourced people. But we can also use AI to validate, refine, understand, and kind of regurgitate back to us how we understand what this outsourced team built, and you can help with knowledge transfer. And then I think the last one I like to harp on here is a good outsourcing partner is good at documentation. At Facet, we document everything as we go. We don't want you to stay with us forever just because we're the only ones who understand this crazy code that we wrote for you. A lot of shops write code that only they can understand, and they almost always get fired, and then it gets rewritten, and now you're way behind schedule. We like to write good docs as a matter of practice, especially if we're going to be on this project for a long time, or we're going to be called back later, or we're going to help you transfer to a new team. But with AI in the picture of outsourced development, I think we should expect it even more because AI can help us write volumes of documents, help us validate them against the code, because a lot of times the problem with documentation is it's getting stale. But what I really think is interesting is for decades in this career, I've complained, I wrote all these docs, but nobody ever reads them. They come ask me a question and I go, hey, did you read the docs? With AI did read the docs. These docs now, you want a good outsourced development partner that what they deliver is documented enough that you can put it into your AI assistant coding tools like Cursor, and it can understand what your outsourcing partner delivered and start helping work and maintain and extending it because documentation was part of the process, not an afterthought.